right, so here's what we do, okay? We start a new reality show where we get a bunch of conservative-leaning boomers all together. And instead of throwing them like in the wilderness like they do in all these other reality shows, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all of their belongings away. We're gonna make them work at a restaurant. We're gonna give them $2.13 an hour. We're not gonna let them have any of the cash that they currently have. And they have 5 months to figure out transportation, where they're going to live, how they're gonna get to work, how they're gonna buy basic necessities like food, and we're just gonna see how long they last. They're gonna have to pick up shifts wherever they can. Just like most restaurants, they're gonna have no clue when they're gonna get off every day. And they're gonna have to work the church crowd so they can see what the church crowd is like. And then at the very end of it, we interview them and see how they feel about raising minimum wage. I don't see a problem with this. If they can make shows like Naked and Afraid and Cops, we can make a show like this.
So this TikToker by the name of That Nick Powers Guy has a really interesting idea, and I think it touches on one of the main issues the United States is facing right now, and that is the fact that the economy is set up in such a way where people just can't get by. And to be clear, this isn't an accident, this isn't a mistake, it's not, oops, we rigged the economy to make sure that working class people are always struggling. No, that's exactly how it is supposed to work, because think about it. How can Jeff Bezos get billions of dollars without siphoning that money away from working class people? Both on the front of extracting value from his employees and not paying them substantial wages, but also on the front of squeezing out as much money as possible from customers. Just look at Netflix, for example. They could have just been sitting pretty, staying at the numbers they had, but instead, they started rolling out new features like ads and not letting people do password sharing. Because under capitalism, they have no choice but to continuously expand their profits. And the only way for them to expand their profits is to increasingly squeeze the working class. That means squeezing wages, and that means increasing prices. Doing those two things simultaneously is an inherent contradiction that exists within capitalism that will inevitably lead to crises and collapse. And to add insult to injury, whenever these crises and collapses happen, instead of doing things like debt jubilees or stimulus checks, both things that have been proven to work very well, no, the United States government decides to do big bailouts for giant corporations, something that has proven itself to categorically not work. Because of course, you can't just give money to poor people, but that's exactly the mentality. We live in a system where if somebody is poor, that is seen as a character flaw, that it must be their individual fault, that millions of people are individually all making the same exact wrong decisions that force them into minimum wage jobs where they can't survive. No, it couldn't possibly be that our system is designed to make it impossible for them to get by. Stems from the fact that our economy was designed in such a way to basically create a generational time bomb. You see, what happened was we put up a bunch of suburbs that are incapable of funding their own existence. We pumped a ton of money into working class people through the New Deal. Now granted, it was only to white working class people for the most part, but that set up the baby boomer generation to benefit from an extreme amount of social programs to ensure a certain degree of economic stability. The reality is, our economy is fundamentally different than the economy that existed for baby boomers. I mean, think about it for a second. A lot of baby boomers see their houses as investments, and they believe that housing prices should go up every single year, which might seem great if you're a homeowner and you're planning on selling your house at some point, but that's terrible. That is a terrible way to organize the housing economy. If housing is getting more expensive continuously, then you would need wages to increase at the same rate for people to continue to be able to afford to live. The fact that that's not happening is basically putting a squeeze on the entire economy, where the only people that can afford to buy houses nowadays are giant investors that swoop in with offers well above the asking price to prevent individual occupiers from owning their homes, basically turning the entire housing economy into a rental economy, effectively permanently locking in a wealthy upper class that rents out properties that they own to a permanent working class that is constantly struggling to pay that rent. In effect, every dime that they make just goes into the pockets of rich people. Fundamentally, at its core, it's unsustainable. And to make matters worse, think about this for like 3 seconds. If the housing prices for everybody are going up everywhere, are you really earning anything from the investment that you made in your mortgage? Think about it for a second. Because are you just gonna sell your house and live in the woods in a trailer? I doubt it. Most people who sell their house turn around to go buy another house. So even the equity that you have is effectively worthless, because if the housing prices everywhere are increasing, then you are not making any money. You are making a lateral move at best. Maybe you might make a little bit of money if you happen to live in a particularly lucrative area. But the harsh reality is, the whole belief in equity as some sort of investment that working class people can use to build wealth is and was always a trick. Baby boomers just happen to come in at a very lucky moment in time where they were able to reap some of the benefits of this system. But that system was never meant to last. And I would love to see people living in $1,000,000 homes that they bought for $150,000 try to survive for even a week on minimum wage.
This is Ben Carollo with Rebel Headquarters. You can catch my show Galaxy Brain on the Young Turks Twitch channel every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to stay up to date with my content, you can follow me at Benjamin Carollo on Twitter. And for those of you that might be wondering or have noticed, my pronouns are in fact she, her.